Stop! Don't let go.
I got it.
Stop!
There's two of them talking.
Views and opinions are not necessarily that of Beyond the Strange, host, guests, and affiliated networks.
You have everything of a great conspiracy. How did I get? Yeah, it's kind of a creepy place, you know, because there's no life at all. A lot of experiments out there. Plutonium, nuclear weapon. Nuclear destruction. They're just balls of light. What the hell did I just... They're just balls of light. What the hell is that? Plutonium. Nuclear weapon. Nuclear destruction. How did I get? You have everything of a great conspiracy.
All right, welcome everyone to Beyond the Strange. I'm your host Dave Cruz, and tonight is Freaky Friday. We have the Bigfoot Expedition special tonight in conjunction with Halloween weekend. Tonight we are going to have Rick Sinnett and Alex Mistretta, both researchers in their own right, and that's going to be a very, very awesome conversation, so I can't wait for that. And I just want to remind everybody that we are streaming at Hangouts YouTube Live right now, so if you're listening on Spreaker, you can go to YouTube. If you're listening on YouTube, you can go to Spreaker. We should be streaming from the website as well. That's beyondthestrange.com. You can follow us at Twitter or on Twitter at Strange Days 2015. The hashtag is the letter B and the word strange after that, so it's hashtag BeStrange. We also have the at BeStrange Forever. That's another tag or whatever you want to call it, Twitter handle for those of you who want to follow the show to get updates. We will give you updates on shows and times and places, and soon we're going to have giveaways and that kind of thing. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Remember, that's BeStrange Forever, and that's at Twitter. You can follow us on Facebook, like us, follow us, repost and retweet everything if you will. That would be awesome, guys, because that will help this show get a lot larger and bigger, and we can do a lot more things. So remember to like us and follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. And in Spreaker, if you follow us, it's there. Make sure you give us a like. Also, we are on iTunes now, so give us a good review on there. And yeah, that'll help us out too. So all the likes and all the good reviews and all the hearts and all that good stuff, that all helps the show out. So do that. That'd be great. And we'll get some good stuff going for you. So remember, this Sunday, I want to also announce that we have Varla Ventura. She is the author of Banshees, Werewolves, and Vampires, and Other Creatures of the Night. If you're listening to me on Hangouts, you can actually see me. I got the camera going. This is the book. Varla was good enough to give me about 4 of these books, different books. They're all great. I'm listing those on the webpage and in Facebook. She will be joining us Sunday for Spooky Sunday, and it's going to be a great one. That's at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 o'clock Eastern, and it'll be the same format, Hangouts and Spreaker and that sort of thing. So, all right, that's all good, and let's get going. I want to introduce Alex Mistretta, researcher, anthropologist, all-around good guy. How's it going, Alex?
Pretty good. How you doing, Dave?
Good, man, good. And also Rick Sinnett from S.H.I.F.T. Rick, how you doing today? I know you were under the weather. You doing a little bit better?
Yeah, I picked up a bug that progressed and left work early. Luckily, I didn't have to suffer through the bus all the way home. My awesome wife picked me up, and yeah, I came home and just passed out on the couch watching all the various DC TV shows.
Yeah, man. You know, that's the way to do it, because I know when I feel good, I just want to sleep and, you know, don't do anything. But that's cool that you got to watch your DC. Did you catch The Flash by any chance?
I'm catching up to the latest one.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you'll like that.
I just wish they'd hurry up and give Wally West his powers already.
You know, I'm a little pissed off about that too. I mean, they did do it on a different timeline. Alex, do you follow that too? Do you follow the DC stuff?
Oh, I watch every single show. I'm pretty behind though. I've only seen the first 2 Flash so far, and honestly, it's one of my top 5 all-time favorite shows.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And you know, I was thinking, because way back in the 80s, that's how old I am. I remember that they did a Flash series back then, and the dad that Barry's dad in the new show is actually the original Flash, who's also now another Flash.
Yeah, he's Earth 2's Flash. I thought that was so awesome when they made him the Flash from an alternate Earth. You know, it's like that's awesome. That is a really nice homage to him.
It is.
You know, being the Flash back in the 80s. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got that right here at the original show.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
awesome.
I'm telling you, man. Yeah, it's that show was great for its time as well. I believe it came right after the original Batman, the Tim Burton one. Tim Burton has, you know, he's got some pretty good movies, but Batman with Michael Keaton, that's, you know, one of my favorites right there. But anyways, so let's go ahead and get into this, guys. You guys did a Bigfoot expedition. Alex, I'll go ahead and start with you. So how did this all come about? And just give us a little bit of your background with U.P.A.R.S and what you do.
Yeah, well, this is an expedition. Steve Murillo, who heads U.P.A.R.S, him and I go back like 15 years. Steve was the director of MUFON Los Angeles back in the day, and I was his director of investigations. And when he started U.P.A.R.S, after he left MUFON over a lot of controversy, and then I quit to kind of like have his back type of deal. So I joined Steve with U.P.A.R.S, which is essentially once a month they have a speaker, a different topic, whether it's UFOs, parapsychology, and we added cryptozoology, which was my main area of concern. So for the last 2 years, Steve and I have been talking about going on some expedition. We went to Skinwalker Ranch about 2 years ago, and since then we've kind of been going back and forth about kind of where to go. He's the more realistic one, so I've usually come up with like topics or areas that like super expensive and impossible. So eventually we settled on going to Skamania County for a Bigfoot trip. Originally, I mean, we had talked about going to New Guinea to look for the ropen, which is kind of like a, pterodactyl type of animal, at least described as such. Ironically, which we'll get into a little pterodactyl story later. But, and we went through, I don't know, about 8 or 9 different areas that we might hit, and eventually we settled on this one spot. And yeah, that's how the whole thing got started.
That's how it got started. That's cool. Yeah, when I had Steve on the 9/11 show, we were talking a little bit about it. He actually invited me, and I was like, man, I really wish I could go. But I'm glad you guys made it out there, so that's really awesome. Rick, so you were originally going to go with your dad, but your dad couldn't go.
Yeah, he had a prior engagement. He and his wife bought tickets for the Celtic Music Festival over on Ocean Shores, and with the amount of money that was spent on those tickets and the planning and all that, I can hold that against them. It was not cheap. I mean, it was an all access pass. So I mean,
oh yeah,
but yeah, unfortunately, yeah, he couldn't make it.
Yeah, sometimes dates, man. Yeah, there you go. They just dates clash, and you got to go with what you have to go with. But why don't you give us a little bit of your background too with your investigation team with your dad?
Well, I mean, to be honest, it started off with just stuff that would happen at home, and just things that caught our interest. Mostly armchair up to a certain point when we actually finally did get to go out and do some investigations. There was one of the earlier ones was a pet cemetery outside of Boulder City, Nevada, and there's claims that there were mafia guys buried there. But it's a trip because if you go down this one highway, and for the people listening, it's the one that goes from Boulder City down to Searchlight and excuse me, sorry about that. It goes down to Searchlight and into like Bullhead and all that. You'll see little glow sticks hanging off of these little crosses and memorial plaques that people put up for their pets. And what's interesting, it's not sanctioned at all. I mean, it's public land. And so people said, it's public land. We're going to bury our pets out there. And the mob said, hey, it's a good idea. We got some things that we need to bury out there too. So, yeah, that was one of the earliest ones. Yeah. And, yeah, nothing really came from that. And also, again, and we'll probably talk about this when we talk about this investigation. Some of our investigation for that was hindered because lack of a 4-wheel drive vehicle. And, yeah, probably easily like 15 years later, I'm finally getting a 4-wheel drive after I started coming across that issue.
Yeah, no, for real. And we were talking about that too. And I want to get the Durango all souped up, and hopefully I can join you guys sometime next year after I get the old Dodge beefed up, get the hella lights and lift kit, all that good stuff.
Yeah, at least the lift, the conservative lift, decent functional lift, about like 4 inches.
Oh yeah,
about
definitely.
4-inch lift.
Well, let's talk a little bit about. Or actually, let's go ahead and get into the expedition. So, Alex, when you're looking for Bigfoot, and especially in this case, how did you guys all prepare for this expedition?
Well, for me, it was just, basically just a lot of homework. I want to make sure I get the biology right. I always look at a spot and look if it makes sense from a biological standpoint. If there's running water, there's enough room for a species to propagate and all that. So, I mean, physically, I'm always in good shape, so I can always go anywhere. And I've been on enough research trips that, I got the gear and I know how to get ready for these things. And mostly my main concern is getting a good team together, people that, that I liked, first of all, people that are good researchers. But also importantly, I wanted to get like people with different backgrounds so to kind of get a fresh perspective on the whole Bigfoot thing. So, I knew Rick is pretty experienced. Steve has never really done cryptozoology. He's mostly a UFO guy, and but he's always been interested in it. So I wanted his perspective, and then I also invited Michael Ivan Omeng, the comic book artist.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been friends on Facebook, and it was so it brings in a completely different perspective on the problem. I always I like parts of the whole type of approach to anything that I do, and so that's. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question, but essentially, my part was mostly to get the team together and look at the location that made sense, and we looked at least I looked at, I don't know, maybe like 8 to 9 different spots, including in the Sierras. We almost went to Vancouver, and obviously there's some, financial aspect to this where our budget was what it is. So
right, of course.
And I finally, settled on this spot because it's got a rich history of Bigfoot sightings, dating back hundreds of years. It's pretty remote, and some of the spots, we only had 4 days, were pretty accessible quickly. So that was, kind of like the reason I picked that spot.
Now, when you do the research, and this is a question for you too, Rick, do you guys often talk to the locals and start, just asking a bunch of questions and, like you were saying, find out their sightings? Did they find any prints? Any sounds and stuff like that?
Do you want me to go first or Rick? Or?
Yeah, go for it.
Go ahead, Alex. Yeah.
For me personally, that's the first day. Now, it's really hard to get a real feel for the environment from far away. I've learned that real quick, throughout the years. So the first day is I hang out, go to the spot where most locals, hang out on, which in Trout Lake, which is the town we were staying at, is basically 2 restaurants, so it wasn't that hard. So the first day you meet locals. And Steve is really, I'm not great with people, clearly, but Steve is really good at starting a conversation and getting info from, individuals. So
right.
That's usually the first days you get that, and then you narrow down from there. You can narrow down where you're going to go, type of deal. You have a plan ahead of time, but you adjust based on the info you get at the location you're going to.
Rick,
for me,
what about
you?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh no, that's cool. For me, I like to poke around first, and because you never know when you might have. And I've heard of situations like this where you have somebody saying, hey, let's screw with this guy, and I like to poke around first, and then I'll be like, hey, I dropped over by this place. What can you tell me about it? And kind of gauge their reaction. I don't know. I guess I take a little bit sneakier of an approach. Like to see the area unmolested. You'll have to forgive me. I'm still a little spacey from being sick today. So if I sound like I'm rambling, I apologize.
Man. No, it's all good. As a matter of fact, I want to thank you both again for coming on the show tonight, and especially you, Rick, because I know that you're still feeling under the weather, and if whatever you need to do, if you need to drop out, get some water, it's all good. I understand. But like you guys, yeah, please don't pull a Barra. That's the inside joke. Hey, I went there. Yeah, that's all right.
He'll probably never live that down, poor Mike. But no, what I do, and also maybe this is kind of a character flaw on my behalf, but I'm not the most trusting of people when it comes to phenomena or people reporting phenomena, because I've dealt with a lot of shenanigans in the past, and so I like to kind of do like a preemptive strike, and then talk to the people and find out and kind of gauge it from there. And I do that with a lot of things. Well, obviously with the exception of like a haunting or something like that, because a majority of the time that's on private property. So you're going to have to talk to people first to make sure you can go there. Otherwise, it's this whole trespassing thing, and police show up, and it just goes downhill from there.
Yeah, getting arrested is never fun.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's happening.
And Yeah, and also honestly, if I'm going to get arrested, I want the old school handcuffs rather than the zip ties. It has a little more dignity to it. You know.
No, you get more. Yeah, a lot more street cred with the handcuffs.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as long as they're not fur
Or badass.
You know. Yeah. You know. But yeah, just say, hey, if you're going to arrest me, can I have the OG handcuffs?
There you go.
Let's bring steel back.
Bring steel back.
Let's make arrests great again. No. Sorry, couldn't help it.
Never been arrested. I came close. I thought I came close to Skinwalker though, but
I haven't been arrested or anything like that. But I have been detained, and it was long enough ago where it actually was with the traditional handcuffs, and yeah, not comfortable.
Yeah, you're lucky if you don't get tased either before you get arrested.
Or pepper sprayed or
pepper
shot,
sprayed. Don't tase me, bro.
Yeah.
Don't tase me.
Well, and at the time, a friend of mine friend of mine was Latino. My other friend is African American, and so we're getting pulled over. They're freaking out, and I'm like, well, what's the big deal? And now at 41 years old, in a big city like San Jose, California, it's like, okay, I get it.
Oh, yeah.
Sadly now,
it takes that long sometimes. Yeah, unfortunately, it sinks in.
Well, and also we didn't have the exposure to media and everything back then, because we didn't have the internet. We didn't hear, you don't. If you live in San Jose, California, you're not necessarily going to get news from, Orlando, Florida, unless it's something epically stupid. So,
right.
Yeah.
So let's get back to day one. What were your thoughts, Rick, when you guys first got out there? And why don't you go ahead and take us through?
Well, my day one was different than Alex's day one, because day one technically started with Thursday. My day one started at the bus stop waiting to go to work, and then getting out of work a little bit later than I thought, and then leaving later than I thought. And then after about a 4.5 hour drive from the Seattle area down to Trout Lake, I get to where we thought we were going to be, and it's just, it's my fault for not clarifying. So I call up Alex, I'm like, hey, Alex, we're here. Really? I don't see any cars in the parking lot. It's like, oh, crap. So you guys are at Skamania Lodge, right? No, man, we're in Trout Lake. Oh, Google Map it. I'm like, okay, we'll be there in another hour. And we got in at like I don't know, it was like 12:30 at night. But first day of actual hitting the dirt for me was pretty interesting. And Alex and Steve were leading the way in the Jeep, which I wish I had at that time. I was in my wife's soccer mom mobile, and very carefully driving over the ruts, which definitely would have wiped out her suspension. And we were kind of heading back because there just didn't really seem like a good spot to look at. And then Alex was like, well, hey, let's, from what I understand, because I wasn't in their car with them, let's go down, this fire road. And so we went down there and passed the logs, and we hit gold. I mean, it's between Alex and I, we're like, a metal detector. And yeah,
bizarre.
Well, so part of that.
But yeah, he picked the road, and everything went great, from there.
Okay, what were you gonna say, Alex?
I'll say part of that too is earlier when we drove by, and I think you remember, Rick, you're behind me, and we stopped because I saw a tree on the side of the road that was kind of bent and broken.
Oh yeah,
right?
The first bent tree, yeah.
So the reason for that is in other Bigfoot sightings that associate with tracks and even physical sighting, there's reports of Bigfoot kind of like, marking its territory by breaking branches or tree branches or that sort of thing, right? And so we saw one. So I saw one of them as we were driving by, and we stopped to check it out. And obviously, I have no idea if it's Bigfoot sign or the tree was just broken. But that sort of gave me the idea to kind of stick around in that main area, which is eventually what we went back to. And and then we got really lucky.
Well, that second tree, that was, and also everybody listening, if you go to Alex's Facebook page, you can see these pictures. But what was great was the second bent tree. It wasn't snapped. It wasn't it was actually a fairly young tree, and it was bent. You can see the fibers. They were bent, not broken, not snapped. And if you look at it, the bend in the tree is about 5.5 to 6 feet up off the ground. Mm-hmm. Now, everybody listening, follow with me on this. If you're standing up and you're going to manipulate something, if you're going to like mess with your cell phone, or if you're trying to work on something, or if you're reading a book, you're going to hold it at chest height. If you're going to mess with something, it's going to be at about chest height, because with your shoulders and your arms, that's where it's going to be. So with this tree being bent that high up, and the way it was bent, you had to have hands with fully opposable thumbs, first off. Second, you had to have remarkable strength. I mean, you really had to be working out. And also you would have to have been anywhere between 7 to 8 feet tall to put the chest height right.
That indication right there definitely sounds like there is something going on out there that needs to be investigated. So, but also right across from that tree bend, right across from the fire road, that's where I found the first print. You know, I want to get into that. So, we're going to go to break here in a couple of minutes, but you know, I definitely want to get your reaction to all that. And you know, really quick, I'm doing a little bit of research myself. You know, I wanted to catch up with you guys, of course, on Bigfoot and you know, cryptids and stuff. But this is an interesting thing, because a lot of people out there, they really take for granted the research that you guys do and you know, that people do into looking for Sasquatch. And I want to read something really quick. This is actually from Survivor Man, Les Stroud. And, you know, he says, searching for Sasquatch, I approach Survivor Man, Bigfoot, with the attitude of, I've heard and seen some weird stuff out there, and this is a plausible potential answer. And in that process, one of the things I've discovered is, although our ability to make a hoax is very good these days, it's also much easier to prove stuff as fake. To take all the evidence as a bundle, the thousands of tracks and sightings and sounds, and say, oh no, they're all hoaxes, you'd have to have a conspiracy of thousands of people involved. The odds against this being a hoax begin to become a lot stronger than the odds of its actual existence. And that's from Les Stroud, Survivor Man. And you know, to me, it seems like there's a lot of people who want to disprove it than to prove it. And you know, to those people, I have to say, you haven't been in the shoes of the people who've been out there and who've actually witnessed a Bigfoot or you know, had an encounter with Sasquatch. You know, and it's, from what I understand, the most terrifying, frightening thing anyone will ever come across. And that's just my comment and my opinion. And you know what? You know, hopefully one of these days we'll get enough evidence to, you know, to get this all, you know, settled. Yeah. So I'll tell you what. Why don't we go ahead and stop here real quick? We'll take a break, and then we'll come back. We definitely want to get into those prints. So this is Beyond the Strange. I'm your host, Dave Cruz. We're speaking with Rick Sinnett and Alex Mistretta. This is the Bigfoot Expedition. Don't go away. Right back.
New World Order got you down? Are you tired of Bigfoot ruining your camping trip? Sick of pesky otherworldly entities messing with your crops? Call Beyond the Strange at 707-200-3520. Again, that's 707-200-3520.
Every region of the world and most countries can go back in their history and trace their origins, traditions, and religions to a creator god or an angel from the sky, the stars, heaven, or even underground from the underworld. This is the common story of extraterrestrials seeding our planet. My name is Reverend John M. Polk. I am an international metaphysical minister, a Reiki master teacher, and a medium. My book is Yahweh, the biblical God, is an alien. The premise of my book is that there is a real God, and that Yahweh is a creator God alien who is indicating he is ready to reveal his alien origins to humanity at this time.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is Beyond the Strange. I'm your host, Dave Cruz, and tonight is Freaky Friday. We are speaking with paranormal researchers and cryptozoologist Alex Mistretta and the other one half of S.H.I.F.T, Rick Sinnett. And I want to thank you guys again for coming on the show tonight and talking about the expedition. You can follow us on Twitter at Strange Days 2015. The hashtag is #BeStrange. And also we're at Facebook, Beyond the Strange. And we're also at beyondthestrange.com. So follow us all there. Guys, this expedition, it was just last week. And I remember, Rick, when you sent me the first photos, and it was like, whoa, no effing way. How did that even happen? You know, how do you come across that? Because I mean, I know from myself, I probably wouldn't even, be able to catch it. So,
my curse turning into an advantage, being overly analytical. In fact, I had an ex that used to absolutely hate watching movies with me, because even if I didn't talk during the movie, after the movie I was analyzing the movie. In fact, Alex and I do that in chat on Facebook. We're like, oh, but did you see this? And I've always enjoyed subtle nuances in movies and art and all that. And it's also that kind of overly analytical OCD type of thing that comes into play when it comes into actually doing field research. And also, at one point when I was a kid, I actually wanted to go into forensics, and ended up not doing it because as I found out more of the cases that when I realized the reality of it, I knew that there would be some cases that I just wouldn't be able to mentally handle, and so that's why I decided to take a different path. But it's for me, it's not really a method. It's kind of a natural kind of a OCD type of thing. And some of the things I do actively look at is I'll look at the directions of like the tracks. If you can get a good direction, I kind of try to predict like a trajectory and go from there. When I found that first track, it was I was looking at because it was actually for the people that haven't seen the pictures, as you go down this fire road out in the middle of the woods. Alex, were we actually on the reservation, or were we right on the border of the reservation?
We were right on the border, and I don't know if we were actually on the res or not. I know we were either really close or or right at the start of it.
Yeah, because I mean it was really close. I mean it was one of those situations where it's like if you walk like 3 feet that way, you're on the reservation. If you run back, you're back on regular Washington state soil. So you have this fire road going down through the middle of this forest that is recovering from a forest fire from last year, which is one of the things that made the casting difficult. Because of the forest fire, there was still a lot of debris on the ground. And we came up to the situation where it's like, okay, we could either pull this debris out to try to get a better casting, but if we pull the debris out, we'll mess up the print. And so it was a catch-22. It was just screwed either way. We could either get out the debris and screw up the print, or we can just let it roll and say, hey, this is how we found it, guys. But as you're looking at it, there's like a berm on the side of the fire road with softer dirt going into this burnt-out area of the forest. And we just kind of like spread out in a way. And so I was looking at the soft dirt, which would be your better chance of finding a defined print, because if you see something on hard packed dirt, it could be anything, and also you're not really going to get a casting off of it. So you could get a picture. In fact, there's one that I called the smear print, because it's actually in mud that's on top of hard packed dirt, and so there's not really an imprint, but you can see the footprint and how they kind of slid on the mud. I mean, it's really kind of a cool looking print if you look at it, because you can tell where it kind of the possible Bigfoot lost its footing, because you could tell it slipped in the mud. So yeah.
Alex, I was just going to get to you, Alex, as a matter of fact. So your experience with casting, and how do you normally go about it? I don't even know if that's the right terminology, but casting, what you saw Rick do, is that what you've done in the past?
No, in fact, it's my first cast. I've never gotten another one. This is the first time. So, I mean, obviously, I've seen other people do it, and and I've watched all the documentaries on how to do it and all that. But so we used plaster, and then Rick and I were talking. But I think we were talking to Bear Hunter and talk about casting.
Oh, Sean.
Yeah, Sean.
Yeah.
And he mentioned that he used
awesome
latex.
Guy.
Yeah. So next time, I think we're going to use latex. It's a little bit better. The problem that we had is that it looked like the rain might be coming in. And in theory, you really should let the cast dry for at least overnight, right? But we decided to cut it out early, literally after an hour, because in case the rain came. So we didn't have the proper time to really let it dry. But it was that, or risk losing it entirely. So, and honestly, I mean, we found about 4 or 5 potential tracks, and
oh yeah,
and that was the only one where I thought it was worth trying to cast. The other one is just too much debris, like Rick mentioned. So we didn't really have a choice. So our decision was pretty much made for us. Right,
exactly.
And that's, unfortunately, that's part of the deal. You you're out in the environment, you have to accommodate it.
So what happened
that
after that?
Mother Nature crap.
Yeah.
Well, after that, we kind of traced back the travel path that it would have taken, or what we believe would have taken it, and it went in an arc. And what's interesting, and we found scat, quite a bit of deer, and also something, because I'm sorry to disappoint everybody. I'm not an expert on poop, other than changing my kids' diapers when they're young. So I'm not really an authority on it. But there was some that I couldn't really figure out what it was. And some of the tracks we found were like white-tailed deer, and some of them were boar. In fact, Alex, you remember that tree that we saw that was pulled down and there's scrapings on the side?
Yeah, absolutely.
Alex spotted that one. And looking at it, I believe it was a small boar sharpening up its tusks. Because I haven't been boar hunting, but from what I understand, that from nature shows, that's what they do. They'll rub their tusks up against trees and stuff like that to kind of sharpen them up.
Mm-hmm.
And if I was going to take a guess, I think that it was possibly a Sasquatch chasing an animal for dinner. Because looking at the strides and everything, it meant business. It was definitely on the move. And the arc, animals wouldn't normally go into like an arc too much, like it was going. So unless it was chasing something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we found human. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and then going back to like the tree that we found that was kind of like inside the forest a little bit. The tree, tree that was bent, it was right over a series of deer tracks. So that's what I give us the idea that, if this was indeed a Bigfoot, it was following the deer up into the clearing.
Now, would you guys say that there was a lot of activity going on in this particular area?
Tons, but I still think that now, because I look at aerial maps and all that. The area we were at, I don't think Bigfoots necessarily live in the area. I think it's on their path. That being a bipedal species, I have to assume, and sightings seems to corroborate this, that they have a large area that they cover on a daily basis, looking for food or whatever. And I think we're directly on a regular path that they take. I think the main population, whatever that may be, lives further out on the other side to a place. What did Sean call it? The Dark Divide or Dark Ridge?
Yeah, Dark Divide.
And that's much deeper in the forest. So my belief anyway, that area makes a lot more sense in terms of where a population would live, and where we were at was just kind of like the extreme, range of it, of its niche, so to speak. So.
Wow. It definitely sounds like you guys were coming across a lot of stuff, and I hate to not sound too technical when I ask you guys questions like that, but of course my experience is pretty much zero to very little to none. Rick, when you guys were wrapping up the first day, was there anything else that stood out in your mind that you might have caught?
Yes, I needed another week. That's what stood out in my mind the most. That area was great, and I would have loved to have gone farther, off the beaten path and into the briar patch, so to speak, because there was one area that I found human footprints. It was a female boot, most likely like a Scheffler type of boot. So it could have been like a female forest ranger, or possibly like a hunter or something like that. So, I mean, going in deeper, I definitely would have loved to have found more tracks. And there's this one rise that Alex and I both agreed that we just had like this vibe off of this one rise, and we really wanted to go there. But and this is where the worlds collide. in a way, because we were filming this, and so we have to balance doing research within a compressed time frame and also doing the filming. And so here, and this is where kind of tension builds up, because like, here's me and Alex, we're dying to get out there, put on the safari hats, and go out in the middle of nowhere to try to find this. We had Troy, the camera guy, doing his job, and it's like, I'm here to film. And so, in my opinion, the culture differences didn't really mesh too well. And it's nothing against him or anything like that. I know he's doing our job, but also, Alex and I want to do ours. And that was difficult. It was something like, if you're ever filming something, you need more than, like 3-4 days.
Alex,
Yeah,
what do you? I was gonna say, what do you say about that, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, I'm much less diplomatic than most people, so I tend to speak my mind on while we're on investigations and afterwards. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, intellectually, I understand the need for filming and all that, and especially because Steven U.P.A.R.S, who brought his camera guy Troy, who was very dedicated to making a film, they're paying the bills, right? U.P.A.R.S paid the bill and all that, and and ultimately, Steve and I will have disagreements once in a while, and I know, there's a lot of people comment on it and stuff, but usually it gets smoothed out. But, and his point of view was like, yeah, but if we film this now, we could get money later to go on, on a bigger and a better expedition. And, I think I'm always thinking in terms of like right now, and I just want to go. So there's always butting heads, and, which is, you're always going to be limited by where the funds are coming from. That's the problem in this field, because there's just not enough money to really do what you want to do. And I'm completely unreasonable. I just want to do what I want to do no matter what, I mean, I'll be the first to admit it. But that's also, why I get pretty good results throughout, my career in this and, related fields. So on one hand, you have to be unreasonable to get results, but you also have to be able to get along with people that, they're paying the bills sort of deal. So it's always like a tightrope.
Mm-hmm.
That you have to walk, and like I said, I'm not always great at it, but that's part of it.
And also, well, and also in Troy's defense, I mean, he was a fairly grouchy dude, but I'm an adult.
That's his defense.
Well, no, he was a grouchy dude, but here's the thing: the guy literally just had knee replacement surgery. I don't mean okay. You have a torn ligament or anything like that. His right knee, was turned into like the bionic man. And so here you got this dude that's in severe pain after, a knee replacement, not repair, replacement. And he's wearing like 3 different braces on the one knee so he can get out there. And he's got this cool, like, cane that looks like something Yoda would have had. And so I mean, I can understand him, basically being kind of bitchy, and that didn't help things out too much either, because, like I was saying, here's me and Alex, let's go find us a big 8-foot tall, hairy bastard and prove that he exists. And, and it's like, well, hold on guys, one more take for safety. You take a safety shot. It's like, well, hold on, I need to grab it from this angle. It's like, oh my God, dude. It's like Bigfoot. Screw you and your camera. I want Bigfoot. Unless that camera's going to film Bigfoot, I don't care. Not my monkeys, not my circus, and that's when you have to do the whole, try to, find the middle ground. And, there's a reason I don't do television, because I probably not survive long in that industry.
Well, I mean, that's the problem. The problem, though, is you need them, because a lot of times that's how you get money to go places, And in Troy's defense, he's very good at what he does. And he's he's done quite a few shows, yeah. And and he's a good guy. It's just a matter of people have a different perspective of what they want out of an expedition type of deal. I mean, same thing with Steve. Him and I butt heads over this, but he's a really good guy, And ultimately he was doing this for me in a lot of ways, I think. But you know, everyone's you know, you don't get to go on these things every week, so you kind of want to maximize whatever your ideas of what you want to get done. You want to maximize that, and everybody's got different ideas of what that is.
Oh,
And,
sure.
you know,
It's an opportunity of, you know, well,
right?
I don't know about a lifetime, but you seize the opportunity when you get
Well,
one.
you know what? It very well could be the opportunity of a lifetime, because I know personally, you know, especially with my dad, as you know, he's definitely a cryptid guy. I've heard noises. My dad's heard noises. You know, we've heard knocks. We've heard the sounds. But with audio, I mean, for all the easy rebuttal, oh, it's just some guy yelling off in the woods, or some guy going, you know, batshit crazy and beating a tree with a stick or whatever, you know. But this is, for me, this is the first time I've seen actual prints in person. I've studied Dr. Meldrum's work, and I've looked through a whole bunch of different prints, but this is the first time that I've actually had an opportunity to find solid prints.
Let's go back a little bit what you said, Rick. And I want to get to the evening part of that day. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But I wanted to, you were talking about the sounds. Now,
yeah,
during the day versus the night, I know there's different sounds, of course. But Alex, when it was evening time, did anything stand out for you as far as knocks or, you know, hoots or hollerings? I don't know what you guys call them, but was there anything like that you can
no, we didn't hear anything. We didn't hear anything at all. What it was, the prints were pretty recent, I think, but not that recent. Where if there was indeed a Bigfoot, it was out of the area already, I think. Or if it wasn't, it was in the woods looking at us, and we had no idea. You know, it could have been very still. These things have a tendency, from eyewitness reports I've gathered, to be very still when they want to be. So they could have been out there. We wouldn't have seen it. You know, the woods are pretty thick. So we were in a clearing, but all around there, it could have been anywhere. We would have had no idea.
Really?
But I didn't hear, I didn't hear anything. And again, going back to the knocks, I think that's slightly overrated, because in the primate world, knocks are usually, for chimps, it's like, let's gather and let's go hunt. You know, gorillas, large noise means stay away from me. This is my territory. It's never been a case where you make a lot of noise, you knock on a tree, and it doesn't mean, hey, let's go have a Bigfoot rave. You know, I think it tends to have the opposite effect. But that means,
wow, a Bigfoot. I'm trying to picture that in my head, but I can't see it.
Well, I offered to buy a bunch of fireworks, for it, and Alex. Once Steve pried Alex's hands off of my throat, I realized that he didn't take it as a joke. No, well, actually, I believe it was Jane Goodall who discovered that chimpanzees use knocks as a hunting tactic.
Absolutely.
You'll have Group A at one end of the trail and Group B at the other, and Group A knocks on the tree. That's a signal, hey, we're going to flush the prey down to you. And then Group B, knock, knock. Okay, we're ready. Let's eat. And so when you have these people out in the middle of nowhere, deciding to knock on trees, you don't really know what you're doing. You don't know what form of communication that's supposed to be. Is it like gorillas, where it's like a large knock, stay away, this is my territory? And then if the Bigfoot doesn't really take kindly to that, then it'll pop on over and physically discuss it with you. Or it could be with chimpanzee. Oh yeah, it comes up and beats the crap out of you, but you got your proof.
Evidence.
Yeah, it's evidence. Look at these handprints around my face. And if it's chimpanzees, then you got this poor group of Bigfoot at the other end of the trail going, okay, where the hell's dinner? Right. It's like, you're teasing me. But the pizza guy is supposed to be here 10 minutes ago.
Here's my thing, though, right? Everybody does the knock, or he does the howl, but how often does that actually produce a picture or a sighting? As far as I'm concerned, never. So people hear knock in the woods and they get all excited. Yeah, well, that's great, but I want a lot more than that. I don't want to hear knocks. I want to hear growls. I want to see Bigfoot. I want to film. I want to photograph Bigfoot. And, you know, why keep doing something that has never really worked in the past? I'm not satisfied with a knock. I want to see Bigfoot, and I will. But, you know, let's stop doing the same thing we keep doing and getting no results. You know, let's kind of look at it from another perspective.
Well, how does the saying go? The first sign of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, hoping to get a different result.
Yep,
right,
that's right.
Yeah, you know, so, yeah, that's the right line, yeah.
Well, with the primates like chimpanzees and gorillas, that seems like it's an instinct for them to do the knocks. Bigfoot, we don't exactly know. I mean, as far as being a primate, do we know that it's, you know, related to the gorilla or to the chimpanzee, where it's instinct for them to knock as well? And then you got to think about the territory, like, you know, where you guys were at, and, you know, the Pacific Northwest. You know, is it different for, like, you know, for Yeti or for other cryptids that are similar to Bigfoot? So I think that needs to be in consideration as well, right?
Well, I think the environment definitely dictates, you know, the animal's behavior, or, you know, the species behavior, if you want to call it an animal or not. But there's certain rules that you can sort of apply based on what you know of the animal kingdom or primates in general. I mean, from, you know, if you look at the fossil record, the only animal in a fossil record that resemble Bigfoot, the Yeti, the Almasti, whatever, is a primate, a great ape, or a relative of man, you know? So you sort of have to deduce from what you know of the past, and you can kind of figure out what, you know, what this animal's behavior is based on its morphology and, you know, in the fossil record. Because that's all we have to go on for now. So, yeah, something's going to be wrong, but I think something's going to be pretty right.
And also another thing you have to take in consideration and another reason to validate using apes and all that is kind of a template is how many mammals in the world are actually bipedal versus how many are quadrupeds. And so when you have like similar form of locomotion and all that, you'll tend to get similar behaviors, maybe not dead on, but you'll get similar behaviors. Now, when you get Bigfoot, which, you know, some people believe is a leftover of Gigantopithecus and all that, you're still dealing with an ape. You know, so yeah, the closest thing you're getting is a bipedal mammalian that is closely to the ape family. So, of course, you're going to naturally gravitate towards those behaviors because they're very common.
Want to add anything to that, Alex?
Yeah, no, I agree. You know, you sort of have to formulate a working hypothesis based on what you know. And then as the evidence and the data comes in, then you can deviate from that depending on, you know, what comes in. But so far, everything I've seen, and to me, points to either, you know, a hominid of some type or an ape. So either a human related to us, which might have diverged, you know, however million years ago, or a relative to the, you know, great apes.
Okay.
Or somewhere, you know, in between, somewhere along that line anyway.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and take our second break. And then when we come back, maybe we'll get into some calls, but we definitely want to get into some more of the expedition. This is Beyond the Strange. I'm your host, Dave Cruz. We're here with Alex Mistretta and Rick Sinnett. Right back.
Hey Beyonders, this is Kat from Our Precious Demise. You are listening to Beyond the Strange.
All right, we are back. Welcome, everybody, for joining us on our Freaky Friday. Tonight we are speaking with Rick Sinnett and Alex Mistretta of U.P.A.R.S. And you can follow us on Twitter at Strange Days 2015. The hashtag is the letter B, the word strange. We usually have pictures and comments and all that good stuff there, so follow us on Twitter. I'm sorry I forgot to put out the phone number, but the phone number to call into the show tonight is 1-707-200-3520. Again, the number is 1-707-200-3520. And yeah, let's try to get some calls in. I believe we have a caller right now. Welcome to Beyond the Strange. Hello, caller. I think we have
a ghost call.
It sounds like a Bigfoot. I'm hearing knocks at the other end of the phone.
I'm hearing something knocking on. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the first time in history we have a phone call from Bigfoot. You heard it here on Beyond the Strange first.
We get it done.
There we go.
Yeah. See,
I'm not sure. Okay, one more time. Caller, this is Dave Cruz with Beyond the Strange. Who is this? All right, so I guess we're not going to find out who that is. So
that actually was a ghost. If you turn up the volume, it's coming through as an EVP. We just can't hear it.
That's very interesting. Okay. Well, so much for that.
Come on, third time's the charm. I'm feeling
third
lucky.
time's the charm. Well, I'll tell you what. Again, that phone number is 1-707-200-3520. Casper Park says it's the NSA. It very well could be.
Oh, you know it.
It very well could be. Maybe they're trying to get their hands on some of those prints. So, all right. So that's day one. Let's go to day two. What did we find that day?
Not much.
An alpaca shop.
Well, day two was a little more crowded. Michael Avon Oming and his wife Taki joined us, who were great, incidentally.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to we were filming in caves mostly in that day, and so from a Bigfoot standpoint, I don't think we're probably going to see much, and we're I think a little too close to the road for my taste in terms of Bigfoot research. The idea for that day, we were waiting for Sean, the bear hunter, which we had talked to the night before, about going out to that dark ridge or dark divide, whatever he calls it. But unfortunately, we didn't hook up with him till, what was it, like 4 o'clock, 5, and it was starting to get dark.
Yeah, it was a little bit later.
Yeah, so we really all the good stuff, kind of showed up on day one, and day two we explored some cave system. Theoretically, we talked about if a Bigfoot wanted to get away from population, whatever, he could sleep or whatever, hang out in the cave system at night, and because the entire area there's a lot of lava tunnels, and literally it's like miles and miles. It goes all the way from where we were at to a place called by Mount St. Helen, which is where Ape Canyon is, which is another area I was hoping to get to, but we never got around to hitting that spot. So if any yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was going to say is one of the theories that that Alex and I were talking about, because Mike brought up how expansive the cave system was. I mean, it's a collection of lava tubes, and caves are created from seismic activity and all that. And one of the things that Alex and I would like to do is go there during the dead of winter. I mean, obviously we have to get a lot of stuff to stay warm, but get there during the dead of winter, and we're kind of thinking that might be the time to check the caves, because that makes a natural shelter. And like Mike was explaining with the lava tubes, I think it was Mike, they pretty much stay at the same temperature year round. There's not really a lot of variance with the temperature inside of the caves. So that would be a prime area for any creature to really find shelter during the winter. Because the big question is what does Bigfoot do during the winter? Does it hibernate? Does it have like a migratory path where, like birds, they go north during, the summer and south during the winter? What exactly do they do? So if they're active year round, it would make sense that they would find shelter in a cave. If they hibernate, then they would find shelter in a cave or something like that would create some sort of shelter.
Right. So what is... Oh, I was just going to say, what is the consensus of what the diet is of Sasquatch or Bigfoot?
Omnivore.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, it's been seen hunting deer, eating berries, and, chimps are pretty much omnivores. Gorillas aren't. So there's no, again, going back to the whole primate thing, there's no reason for it not to be omnivore. I mean, we are. But I did want to mention one thing about the cave thing. It's funny because in the U.S. and Canada, where, from the Pacific Northwest all the way up to Alaska, where the majority of Bigfoot sightings are, there isn't a whole lot of reports of Bigfoot's been seen in caves or coming in and out of caves. There's a few. But there is, once you head out to Asia, in terms of like Yeti sightings and the Almasti, which is the Siberian, the Mongolian version of Bigfoot, which I believe is the same species, you have a lot more sightings in those areas of the animals living in caves where it's colder. And so, all right, so let's go back to North America and Canada, where we don't have a whole lot of people outdoors like they do, let's say, in Nepal during the winter when it's cold. And to, observe that behavior, so you can deduce that if we're talking about the same species, the Yeti, the Almasti, that it would have a similar behavior and hence kind of, hang out in caves when it gets really cold.
And also the diet would change during the season.
That's what I was getting at with the diet.
Yeah, it would make sense to be an omnivore because during the winter, you're like around my house. We have blackberries growing like they're weeds. We have to trim back the blackberry bushes. So during your spring and summer months and fall months, there's plenty of plant life to eat. But during the dead of winter, there's nothing. So yeah, they're gonna be dependent on meat because they're just not gonna have the plant life.
Yeah, and from a meat perspective, there's plenty to eat all year round in the Northwest or wherever, so that's food wouldn't be an issue. Water and food, shelter, all that is all available year round,
Alex, you were mentioning the Yeti, and I, of course, I'm just now dabbling into the cryptids, and I noticed that there is a researcher by the name of Josh Gates who has been doing a series called Hunt for the Yeti. You said that they're very similar, Sasquatch and the Yeti, and I've already seen where Josh is. They got it into the cave system like you were talking about.
Right.
They found hair samples and that sort of thing. When you guys went on your expedition, was there other than the scat and the footprints and stuff? What is the likelihood of finding that kind of thing in some of these caves you guys were talking about?
I think it's feasible. I think we'd have to go further out in the woods, kind of like, where there's less people exploring the caves. Now, we found some areas in the caves that could function theoretically as kind of like a bed. It's just, obviously it's on stone, but there's certain areas that are very similar to what you were talking about, the areas Josh Gates found in, in Nepal and Bhutan. So theoretically, yeah, you could find maybe hair samples or, bones, food left over. But I think you have a better chance during the summer if you're looking for, hair samples and all that, looking for nests. Bigfoot, in my opinion, builds ground nests, kind of like gorillas do. And in fact, I used to talk to a few FBI guys that this was actually in Georgia, and way deep in the woods, they were looking for meth labs, and they kept encountering these like structures or like trees are bent, kind of like what we saw, over this ground where a bunch of leaves are kind of put together like in a bed, And they kept wondering, what the heck is that? But, they didn't really have time to really worry about it. 'Cause, they're looking for meth labs until one day they saw a Bigfoot walk by.
Whoa.
Yeah, believe it or not, true story. So I think you'd have a better chance finding that you would in a cave system, at least here in North America. You'd have to get really lucky, I think, because it's not like you have caves all over the place. Like in that area we were at, there's a lot of caves, but they're not, everywhere. And I think in a lot of areas that Bigfoot would potentially live in, unless it gets really cold, maybe during the winter, it doesn't necessarily need a cave because it's not like it gets bothered by people. It's like some of these areas are really remote. They've been mapped from the air. It's very, very few people, venture that far deep in the woods. So they'd be perfectly comfortable on a ground nest. It's not like they have other predators to worry about. What's gonna eat or kill a Bigfoot?
Yeah,
a human.
yeah, human, exactly. And again, I think it's all how deep into the forest you guys are going to go into. That's going to determine some more of this evidence, or what you want to call, to be able to find these samples and stuff like that. What does it take for someone to get all that stuff analyzed?
It's hard.
Money.
Yeah, money. Somebody willing to do it. I've years ago, I had this had nothing to do with Bigfoot, but Steve and I were investigating a UFO sighting, and it was like a landing case, all that. And we found a spot that we thought maybe this object landed, and I took some soil sample. I couldn't get anybody to even take a look at it. Eventually, I just threw them away. I threw them in a trash, got frustrated. And same thing with, Bigfoot. You find hair samples. Where do you go? There's there's that Todd Dressel. I can't think of his last name, in New York University. You saw him on Josh Gates' show. He'll do some analysis, but it costs money, So
yeah.
Unless the production company's paying for it, or somebody's paying for it, it's very hard, And most people don't want to touch, Bigfoot hair. So Meldrum obviously has connections. He'd be the guy to send it to. But even then, I've talked to other researchers that I've talked to researchers about samples, or they think they might have samples and they can't get it analyzed. Nobody will do it.
And a lot of it is because they don't want to risk their reputation.
Yeah, and you can't blame them.
Yeah, because, you get a guy, and especially if it's a younger guy who's just doing his job and trying to help somebody out, and he pulls up the sample, and him, not knowing any better, is honest about it. And it says, it looks human-ish, but I really don't know what it is. And next thing you know, this guy, he's working drive-through at a fast food place because of that one sample, and he was honest about it. So it's just like with UFO sightings and pilots. If these guys want to keep their pilot's license, they don't talk about the big glowing orb that was in front of their plane and moved around at impossible speeds and angles. So, it's the same type of block that pilots find with UFOs that scientists find with the whole entire cryptid community. And also, Kat had a question here. Hundreds of deer in our woods, and I've never seen a bone or any sign of a dead deer. Why would Sasquatch be any different? Just because we don't find bones doesn't mean it's not out there. Alex, you want to tackle that one?
Yeah, well, for one thing, bones will disappear in just a few days. So you'd have to be really lucky. Second, you'd have to recognize it as something unusual, as Bigfoot bone, which you wouldn't. You just think maybe it's bear, right? Unless you just come across a body that died like the day before. So you got two problems. It disappears quickly. And the second problem is you have to recognize it as something unusual, take it back, and again, get it analyzed. So a lot of things have to, come into play for you to actually find Bigfoot bones. Now, we've had hair samples, we've had blood samples, we've had bones before that were declared unusual. But even if, let's say, you do a DNA test, it's just going to come back as unknown because it's not in a DNA database, so you have nothing to match it to. There's no such thing as Bigfoot DNA, right, officially? So all you're going to get is unknown, and usually those samples get thrown out as, like, people think it's contaminated or, they're not really going to bother with it.
Yeah.
And
So unfortunately, because nobody's keeping it, we have nothing saying like, hey, you know, that unknown sample from, you know, Washington is just like this unknown sample from Northern California, and very similar to this one out in the swamps in like Louisiana, right?
Yeah, and there's plenty of anomalous bones that people have found. I mean, you can even look it up on the internet from, you know, but they just leave it as a mystery, or that, you know, they don't really bother with it. So, I mean, even when Peter Burns brought back the Yeti finger, you know, from Tibet, you know, it was, I think, it was analyzed in London, I believe, and declared, you know, as primate, close to human, and then, but no one bothered to follow up on it, and eventually disappeared. But
yeah, I was wondering what can it actually be matched up against. You know, until we get a body, like it's been said, there's really not a whole lot to go on. And I could be wrong, but I have heard that before. There's another question in Spreaker, and thank you, Rick, for catching Kat's comment and question. Deb wanted to know about the reports of people being attacked by Bigfoot. I've heard stories, you know, but has anyone actually been killed by a Bigfoot that you guys know about?
Not that I know of, or that the National Park Service is willing to admit. Alex has a much better source for information than I do with stuff like that.
I mean, I've heard stories, nothing official. And first of all, you know, a lot of people talk conspiracy in terms of, you know, the national forest and the government and all that. But the reality is, there's money in people going to national parks. You know, there's money in people getting fishing license, hunting license. You know, scaring people off, saying there's a 8-foot bipedal dangerous, you know, animal out there. You know, people are going to stay away from the forest, right? Or a bunch of crazy idiots are going to go out shooting and then, you know, at anything that moves. So it's too, you know, so they're probably going to want to keep it somewhat quiet. But yeah, I've heard stories.